term discipline often carries with it this negative connotation that many people find offensive. Discipline has become attached to strict parenting and even harmful behavior. Discipline, however, actually means to teach. Be the safe person your child can come to if they feel overwhelmed or if they feel upset. Praise, and more praise for the right things. The best ways to discipline a child involve love, security, safe boundaries, and the opportunity to grow. Welcome back to another Warrior Academy podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about discipline. I know it's a very hot topic for a lot of our members, and a lot of parents come to the Warrior Academy from around the world. Parents from Europe or South America or India or Asia or Africa or, wherever it is, will have very different styles when it comes to parenting and discipline. It's very important that us at the Warrior Academy respect each parent's individual style of parenting. And when it comes to discipline, what I'm going to be talking about is what we've noticed to be the most effective way to discipline a child. We work with over 30,000 children around the world, and it's a very, very hot topic. I know that discipline often carries a kind of negative connotation, but I'm going to go into that in just a second. So let's get started. So like I mentioned, the term discipline often carries with it this negative connotation that many people find offensive, right? Discipline has become attached to strict parenting and even harmful behavior that many caregivers wish to avoid and depart from. Look at the parenting style podcast I recently did, where you look at authoritarian parenting as an example. Discipline, however, actually means to teach. It's crucial that as adults and caregivers in children's lives, we provide a safe and secure environment that guides and teaches appropriate, respectful behavior in young people. Most discipline techniques that used to be commonplace have long been left behind. Lots of parents and guardians often feel lost about the best ways to teach and guide their children. It's actually essential that caregivers know and adopt effective and healthy discipline strategies so we can confidently raise secure, healthy, and resilient children. Healthy discipline techniques are what I want to focus on here. Now, healthy discipline techniques ensure that children are taught appropriate ways to behave and that they're kept safe from harm, ultimately. Children learn to manage their behavior and benefit from healthy development. And so the first thing I want to talk about is showing affection and attention. That would be the first element of healthy discipline, showing affection and attention. So children often misbehave as a way to get attention. Children should never have to work for their caregivers or parents' attention. It should be given generously. So when you dedicate quality time to connect with your children on a personal level and build that positive relationship, they'll feel less inclined to need to misbehave to get your attention. So make sure that you chat with your young person every single day. When you chat with your young person every single day, it keeps communication open between you and the issues that they're facing, right? If your child's going through something and you've constantly got the communication lines open, you're more likely to have a deeper connection. You're more likely to get to really know your child and notice who they are and what they do. And I think this type of attention allows your children to feel already loved and noticed. When children feel secure in their guardian's love in this way, they basically have less of a need to act out for attention. A positive relationship will help your children make better choices. They're more likely to be honest with you about issues they have, rather than misbehave out of fear, out of frustration, or even misbehave out of loneliness. Know your child and be prepared. It's point number 2. So when you understand your child well, you can better understand their behavior and choices. You can also more accurately predict situations that might trigger poor choices or misbehavior. Every child has sensitivities or difficulties that are unique to them. And by understanding these traits in your child, you can support and guide them more easily. Prepare yourself and your child for situations that may trigger poor behavior or choices. Put things in place that support them and outline the expectations you have beforehand. So much I find when I do these deep dives on different topics, so much comes down to just outlining expectations. If we as parents outline expectations, we eliminate something like 50% of the typical challenges or problems that tend to occur. So make clear the boundaries for behavior and the consequences if they behave inappropriately. Bear in mind that some children struggle with sensory issues or anxieties around certain situations, i.e. social anxiety, right? So chat with your child before a potentially triggering situation. Ask them if they're worried about anything. Provide that emotional support and guidance around the best ways to handle their worries. Be the safe person your child can come to if they feel overwhelmed or if they feel upset. Your child will learn to trust you, and essentially they'll learn to rely on you for support and guidance and will feel more able to handle difficult situations without you. They're more likely to feel calm and capable of making good choices when you do this. The next point is to praise. Praise, praise, and more praise for the right things. So focus on the positive you see in your child. Notice the thoughtful behavior they may show. And, as they progress and they work hard at something, specifically their character traits, if they're really showing that work ethic, that's when you want to be jumping in and praising them. Don't praise them for being smart, something they didn't necessarily, a talent they didn't necessarily work for, because that can actually have a negative effect. Instead, praise them for things like work ethic. If they've done a great job on something, praise them for working so hard to achieve the outcome. If they've had brilliant behavior, praise them for having such good attention and listening carefully in class or whatever it is. Praise the character trait. Praise them for being kind. Tell them what a great job they've done and why that matters, right? You've done really well at this, and that's important because of this. You're building a picture of why good behavior is important. And I think this kind of positive feedback from you as a parent will actually help build your child's confidence as a knock-on effect of this. And they'll feel encouraged, and they'll be more likely to make better choices and behave in positive ways. I think that consistent praise also helps to cushion the times where you need to address bad choices. If you never praise, and then you go straight from never praising to discipline, your child may be quite indifferent. So constantly praise, but praise on the right things. The next point is to choose your battles. It's a good idea to only pick up the misbehavior that really matters. If you reprimand your child for every single mishap or negative display of behavior, your child is actually far less likely to listen to what you have to say. It's often like a constant voice in the background, always telling them off, always telling them off. Eventually, they just blur it out. So choose your battles. I think that if you do that, they'll also learn they get a lot of attention when they misbehave, albeit negative attention. Attention is attention, right? Whether it's positive or negative. And their belief in themselves can start to dwindle. So sometimes it's actually even better to ignore bad behavior if your young person isn't placing themselves or anyone else in danger. It can actually be beneficial to let your child learn natural consequences. Rather than you saving them from something and reprimanding them, instead letting them do something and figure out what the natural outcome of that is, right? So if your child throws their toys around and they break, they'll learn that their behavior damages things, means they can't enjoy that toy anymore. And that is a much bigger lesson when it comes to discipline than just shouting no at them or stopping them in the moment. That is a good example of seeing the natural outcome of an event. The next thing is to distract or redirect. So this is the next tip here. Distract or redirect. Often children misbehave when they're bored, right? They're bored or they're frustrated. And I find this a lot with my son, my 3-year-old son. If he needs so much, right? He's got all this energy, he needs to pour it into things. If I don't constantly give him things to do, or he's not feeling fully engaged or something, he'll start to be bored, he'll start to be frustrated, and he'll start to show, what would be considered poor behavior. and they don't know what to do with themselves, right? It's not their fault. They just don't know how to spend their time. And they start to grow increasingly frustrated by the boredom and the uncomfortable emotions that arise. So provide lots of opportunities for your young people to basically have purpose and autonomy. If they're at home, allow your child free access to toys and activities so they can amuse themselves and direct their own activities. Enroll your kids in classes that keep them truly inspired and engaged and active. And this will actually promote self-confidence, but it also provides them opportunities to build new relationships and build positive experiences. And I think that young children can usually be easily distracted from upset or boredom. If you involve them in tasks that you're doing as much as possible. If you're doing a chore at home, turn it into a game. If you're loading the dishwasher, ask them to help you. If you're, wiping down a table, ask them to help. Whatever it is you're doing, try and involve them. Sing them songs and, tell them stories about interesting things around you. I think that if they've got your attention and you're doing something around them and they're involved with that, they'll be less likely to whine or complain or misbehave because they won't be as bored, right? They'll be engaged with something. The next thing is to set limits and give consequences. So in order for your young person, your child, to make good choices, they need to understand what is expected of them and realize the consequences of poor choices, right? So set appropriate limits for your child or your children that they can actually understand and follow. Outline clearly and consistently the safe boundaries you like them to keep to and the behavior that you will and won't tolerate, right? The behavior you won't accept. Involve them on the boundaries. Explain why they're there. Explain the dangers of something. And then ask them to give you feedback on what they think is a good boundary, right? Involve them in the decision-making process of new rules and they're more likely to stick to it because part of the idea has come from them. Explain simply why you've put these limits in place so they can actually appreciate why those limits matter. If your child makes a bad choice or they break a boundary, allow natural consequences and, teach and guide them as much as you possibly can. I think this way, when it comes to discipline, your child will learn the significance of the limit that you've put in place without you necessarily having to intervene. And because you can't always be there, that becomes really important. The next point is to communicate effectively. So one of the most important aspects of effective communication isn't talking to your child, it's listening. So give your child the opportunity to explain their point of view and really listen to what they have to say. It's often the hidden messages between the lines that you need to listen to, right? Do your best to understand what is happening from your child's perspective. Underneath the action will be the emotions and the triggers that led them to make the choices that they did, right? That led them to make the choices and the circumstances they put themselves in. So as a parent, don't be reactive. Stay calm, stay non-reactive. So you can actually hear them out, so you can learn more, and then you can correct them in the right way. I think that repetitive patterns of poor behavior are a sign that something else is amiss, right? If your child is showing a consistently bad behavior, that it's repetitive to a degree, there's something deeper that needs to be fixed that you can help support them with, right? And it's critical for you and your child that, you can access that, and you can't do that without listening. The next point here is to teach and guide. So the best ways to discipline a child actually involve teachable moments and clear supportive guidance. And this is one of the key things. Discipline is about helping your child develop into a well-rounded adult who can enjoy loving relationships and thrive in every area of their lives. If you want for your child to develop good conduct, which is one of the 3 C's within the Warrior Academy, confidence, conduct, concentration, then this is really key. Discipline isn't just about punishment or shame. In fact, it's not at all. It's actually about helping your child make the best choices possible for them. It's about reflecting on mistakes and being held accountable for their behavior. That's ultimately what discipline is. It's about showing respect to others. It's about them learning what respect means and helping them develop robust morals, right? Giving them that moral compass. And when you develop discipline at home, it acts as a strong foundation, a firm foundation for every decision that they go on to make throughout their lives. Discipline is one of those things that then influences their daily habit routine, how persistent they are, how resilient they are. At the center of healthy and effective discipline is actually connection and love. Loving your child, no matter what behavior they display, and at the same time, providing secure boundaries that keep them safe, all the while explaining and communicating so that you can understand one another as well as possible, I think is the secret ingredient to discipline, from what I've learned from working with thousands of young people and having my own children as well. The best ways to discipline a child involve love, security, safe boundaries, and the opportunity to grow. And I think as adults, it's your privilege to help the children in your lives grow into the best possible adult they can be. And ultimately, by developing their discipline, you develop one of the three key pillars in your child's character, which ultimately will set them up for a more happy and successful life as an adult. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. That's it from me on the elements of discipline, which I feel are very, very important. Obviously, discipline, massive topic. If you look at any martial artist, they've got super high levels of discipline. And that's something that we really see as the foundation of developing high conduct in the Warrior Academy. We've got a little thing we call in the Warrior Academy, we call it discipline with a smile. Everything that we do comes from a place of care. We care deeply about raising, improving the character of our young people. You'll never find your child coming to the Warrior Academy and experiencing discipline in a negative way. That's not our style. All of our instructors are all trained on a system we've got on how to develop discipline in a young person so that they can benefit long-term in life. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow me on the Warrior Academy episodes on YouTube and on Spotify or iTunes, wherever you are, and share this with as many parents as possible so they can all benefit from some of the insights that we share and talk about here. We really believe character development is the most important yet often missing aspect of a child's education, and with your help, more people will find out more about that. So, until next time, I will see you all soon. I really hope you enjoyed today's Warrior Academy podcast episode. We're going to keep creating these episodes because I know that so many parents find them useful or get insights or get ideas about how to develop their child's character. But it all comes down to the 3 C's: confidence, conduct, and concentration. So if you want to get a deep insight into the levels of confidence your child has, the level of concentration they have, or the level of conduct they have, so that you can actually put a score next to it and then work towards increasing those scores like we do in the Warrior Academy, then I'd love to invite you to fill in the Breakthrough Area Assessment. It takes about 5 minutes of your time, and you will get a personalized PDF report on your child's 3 C's. To access the Breakthrough Area Assessment and find out your child's 3 C's score, all you need to do is go to www.breakthrougharea.com.